Show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FANation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Live Show. It's 8 games here on a Thursday. James, my buddy, we got some pretty exciting matchups on the board here today. We had some injury news come through just a few moments ago. A couple of names.
Thousands.
Couple of names coming through here over the last few moments.
Hours for there's been thousands. It's like 300. Swarms of injuries.
A lot of news for the Thursday slate. Notably, I guess some big news there with the Golden State Warriors Chicago Bulls game, right? As we kind of maybe expected to see on the preview show, back-to-back for Golden State. Steph Curry ends up getting downgraded here. Some of their other plays, Brandon Podjemski is looking like he's going to be back tonight. So we have now Golden State and their matchup against Chicago and a late game as it is to figure out where we're going to go when it comes to that value on this slate. We have the Milwaukee game starting later than expected due to their travel situation as they take on their matchup this evening against the Miami Heat, who are obviously going to be without Jimmy Butler on that slate. All of the Clippers who were out yesterday are in today. All of the Celtics that were out yesterday are in today. Yes, a lot of news came through today.
Endless amounts of news. All Dallas that was out yesterday, out today.
Yep.
The second consecutive time we were lied to by Jason Kidd about Kyrie Irving's status.
Right.
Well, I guess it was technically Kyrie. It was I don't know if I'm going to play, and then he played. Or it was last time they expected him to play. He didn't play. This time they were like, I don't know. And now he's not even on the injury report. But all those same Mavs that were out yesterday are out again today.
Mm-hmm.
Clint Capella was ruled out earlier in the day. What the hell is Atlanta going to do with their backup center? I know they recalled Dominic Barlow, so I'd expect him to be the backup center today. So there's just been news from the moment we woke up, and it just hasn't stopped. And we kind of figured that would be the case because we were doing the show last night, how do we build? We don't know any situation. We don't know who's playing. We don't know who's not playing. So, Jason, just kidding. I like that one. That's a good one. As a coach, because as a player, obviously, he was quite good. He obviously a good coach, but obviously the coach speak is strong within Jason Kidd. But very, very long day of news, and it's not anywhere close to being done.
Not anywhere close to being done. 7 p.m. roster lock here tonight, all the way through 10:30. So you got to stay abreast to all the news that is happening here today. We appreciate you who all tune in each and every day. Is Yvonne in here saying what's up? Josie, Josie, probably Josie, right out there saying hi. Dirk from says Rolly. Dirk
on the slate tonight?
Dirk playing tonight?
Dirk can get some buckets.
And then Jason just kidding from Power. So again, you guys have any comments, questions, throw them in chat. We'll bring them up on the screen. Your top overall price plays of the day. The too cheap Nikola Jokic at 12-2. Giannis at 11-7. Anthony Davis 10-7. SGA coming off of a career high game for him last night in scoring at 10-5. LeBron 10-2. Sabonis 10K. So those are your 10K and above plays, which takes us to the point guard position. SGA is 10-5. Trae Young is 96. Harden's 95. Kyrie 9K here, as we mentioned. We'll see whether or not he actually ends up playing. At this point, we don't even – until he's on the floor, I won't believe anything. So talk to me, man. After last night and what we saw out of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, do you think he's got it in him for a back-to-back night?
I said it on the show last night. It's just we cannot. There's no matchup where he is not serviceable or playable. None. Zero, zilch. None. You could play him in any and all formats in any setting, 16.5 point spread. If it's just him versus the other team, you can play him. Is what it is. We're getting elite numbers because they don't have a center, and they don't want to play a center when they have a power forward that has 7'3" wingspan. So yeah, you could play Shea. I also think, we saw how bad it looked with Trae Young last night. I think Trae Young is a very solid bounce back candidate today. No Ricochet, Capella, Nance, 30% usage for Trae Young, 1.4 fantasy points per minute. James Harden, elite play against the Wizards. Kyrie Irving, obviously nuked against a really tough defensive matchup last night against Shaden McDaniels. The second time he's towards Shaden McDaniels, and they're super shorthanded. So any of the top four is great. I'd rank them probably as their price, or I probably have no issue switching Harden and Trae, but yeah, you can play any of them.
Yeah, agreed. And obviously on a large slate like this with a lot of spend up options, there's got to be different ways to go about getting your, different ways to build your lineups. Those are the top plays up here, but there's certainly going to be value now. Maybe this is a stars and scrubs lineup. There's a couple of high game total games. There's some competitive ones that we kind of liked and highlighted last night as well. So, I think it's going to be kind of interesting when it's all said and done what this ownership ends up looking like. And where, sort of the money ends up going as more of these lineup news and roster updates kind of come through. When you're looking in the mid tier, I mean, the cover of our show is a Chicago Bull. Knowing now what Golden State's going to be putting on the floor, does that change for you at all today?
You think the Bulls are going to blow anyone out?
I don't know. I'm asking,
Do you, the same team that like outright lost to Portland shorthanded the other day? No, you're on drugs. You got to be sniffing glue before this show if you think the Bulls are blowing anybody out. They are terrible.
Wasn't the Atlanta game they lost and Atlanta had nobody
with Keaton Wallace 28 actual or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Nobody playing. Yeah, I mean, I think no Kobe White. Io expected to play. I do think there's I take a liking to Giddey in this spot. Pretty good numbers without Kobe White on the floor this year. 19% usage, but 1.15 fantasy points per minute. I like the Josh Giddey play in tournaments. He's not really getting a lot of rostership. I think people don't really know what to expect with Io. I think he's going to play. I think Kobe White's more doubtful than he is, and that's basically been confirmed. But in 3 of the 4 games Kobe White's played this year, or hasn't played this year, Giddey's played over 30 minutes. And that's been the most important thing all year for Josh Giddey. It's never been like fantasy production. It's just time on the floor. Like they don't play. So I like Josh Giddey in tournaments. I think he makes sense in large field stuff.
Yeah.
On the off chance that Io sits, which he's not expected to, obviously, we just saw it. He played 40 minutes the other night.
Agreed. Did just get the update. Franz Wagner expected to play as we thought so. So that's kind of an interesting situation going on there. We'll see how many minutes he plays. Some of the projections for him, if he's limited at all, could be kind of high. So as his points, I think it was like 18 and a half. You kind of think at 18 and a half, he's maybe playing a full game there with Balo back, but we'll see what happens. What are your thoughts on sort of the rest of this mid-tier range? Do you like Malik Monk, who continues to dominate, Murray in that range, Jordan Poole versus the Clippers now, with their Clippers bringing everybody back? I mean, what are your thoughts in this range outside of Giddey?
I'm going to circle back to De'Aaron Fox.
Sure.
I'm not going to scoot past him. That game is the best on the board. They're obviously second leg of a back-to-back. De'Aaron Fox did not look good at all. But outside of that game, he has been super safe. And we know there's a very high ceiling for De'Aaron Fox. Love this game environment. As long as Sacramento has the legs to go to Golden State and then travel to Denver. So that's obviously a concern. But if they do have the legs, I mean, Sacramento's obviously been great. So I like De'Aaron Fox in tournaments. Io was downgraded from probable to questionable. They had talked about it yesterday. Last night, they had said that the expectation is he's going to be listed as questionable, but he's going to play. I posted the tweet in our Discord today. It's from Casey Johnson, the Bulls beat writer. Unless he's changed his tune, he said they're going to list him questionable, but he's expected to play. So that was I posted it in the Fantasy Alarm Discord earlier today. Let's see. Yeah, nothing new on that front. I'll post it here in our I'll post it here.
Yeah. All right. So we got obviously I listen, I liked Fox too. I'm just saying if you look at sort of what Monk and like DeRozan have been doing lately, right? You're almost locking them in for 40 fantasy points here for the last few games. So you have Monk in that 7K range as well if you're in on the game. And we kind of have to believe that we're in on that side of the game because we really want to get full minutes out of Russell Westbrook tonight. Our expectations are if we get a competitive game, we're going to get the 30 minutes out of Westbrook here. If we get a blowout, then we're looking again at the mid-20s. And I don't necessarily want to pay $6,200 if he's only going to get 25 minutes. So kind of with you there. Kind of hope Sacramento can kind of keep it going in this spot against Denver tonight, at least hang in that game. It's a 240 game total. I know the spread was like 7.5, I think it was. So, hopefully Westbrook can keep it going. What are we looking at as we work our way down the point guard spot?
I want to circle back as well because there's a lot of guys that we haven't talked about. Jamal Murray, 7,200, I think is right there with Westbrook. He's slightly less owned than Russell Westbrook. He's obviously more expensive, but he has the better eligibility. I think the one thing that we can guarantee, you just talked about the Westbrook minutes. The one thing we can guarantee is the opposite end of that spectrum where Jokic plays whole first, whole third. Jamal Murray's early sub, and that sub pattern has led to, even in these blowouts, Jamal Murray being the one, like him and Christian Brown being like the two guys that have been just fully extended. So I actually prefer Jamal Murray to Russell Westbrook tonight. That'd be the direction I'd go. Like if I'm picking between the two, I think they're both fine. But I just have obviously like there's just been a large gap in minutes.
Sure.
And I think when you're talking about like one of the highest rostered players of the slate, he has clearly been the one nugget that's been like him and Michael Porter have been like the two guys that just haven't played, right? And you've seen Jokic get to 30. Obviously, in competitive games, he'd come back in the fourth. But Murray and Brown are the two that you're like, those dudes are getting extended in no matter what the situation is. So
yeah, and listen, I mean, obviously the reason Westbrook's higher than Murray is $1,000, right? Like
the price, yes,
yeah,
for sure.
For sure. Anybody else in this tier then? I mean, obviously Tyler Hero's here again at 83. You mentioned Murray, Giddey. Again, I think Monk is fine. Both of those plays in that 7K range. Was there anybody else?
Nothing with like conviction. I do think Hero's fine. Really good numbers without Jimmy Butler this year.
A little price dip on him as well.
Price drop. Yeah, you highlighted that on the pre-show. That was a good shout. He obviously has a really high ceiling. And then like the next tier is like TBD, right?
Yeah.
To be determined on Cole Anthony. To be determined on Simons, because if there's no Simons, Scoot is immediately someone that we'd take a look at. The numbers for Scoot look really good, even though, I actually wrote this today because I wrote a DeAndre Ayton pickup today, John. The Magic sans Goga Batadze the last 4 games are bottom 5 defensive unit in the league, and you and I talked about that last night. Like there's a reason Wendell Carter kind of lost some playing time in his starting job, and there's a reason why like they've looked different without Goga in the lineup. So I would definitely have some Portland interest depending on who's in and out here. Just, with Simons questionable, we don't know that answer yet.
Sure. Value plays. I mean, again, we're obviously getting the injury news with Golden State here. Does that put you in on like a Dennis Schroeder, or what do you think you do now?
Well, I don't do anything yet. We don't know because Curry's questionable. So like.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously a midday downgrade for Curry on a back-to-back this season has largely signified him being out. Right?
For sure. All I'm saying is that, like, Steph has been like very transparent with the media lately about like this week is going to basically tell us where we are. And like you don't hear star players do that very often. It's more like, hey, get me help. And he's just been like, well, we'll see where we are. They lost a tough game that they should have probably won last night. DeMar DeRozan basically ripped the win from them in the second half yesterday. I think he probably looks at this game like, give it another. If the knee is fine, obviously, like that's a question. But like if he can go, I think he goes.
Yeah, I'm just surprised to see him pop up questionable, right? Like why, to me again, just kind of going off trends, that we've seen. They had the late game, so they had the later injury update, and something like that. So, but assume he's out. Say he's out, right? Or if you're building lineups, you're going to build pivots in. Like who of the Warriors would you prefer to play here?
I don't know. The Pajemski news is that's a really tricky one because I think he'll be pretty limited. It's an abdomen, so he's obviously been unable to like really ramp up, I'd assume. So Schroeder, you assume, would slide back into the starting rotation. He did not start yesterday. I think if Dennis Schroeder's starting, he's fine. But I do think the Pajemski being back is a little bit, a wash for Schroeder. Because if they're like at all splitting minutes, then I mean, Dennis, we've seen he has not had a comfortable fit in Golden State. So, I'm fine with Dennis Schroeder, but I'm a little indifferent about it. It's a great matchup, but he's had great matchups and everybody out, and it still really hasn't necessarily mattered. So it's fine. It's fine.
Any other value guards then that you'd be looking to go to today?
Yeah, I think Lonzo's going to play his 24 to 26 minutes, dependent on, Kobe's out, or all but out, assuming Io plays. There's still 24 to 26 minutes because they started Giddey at the 3 the other day. Well, I guess it doesn't matter, positionless basketball, but they did the 3-guard lineup, him, Levine, and Lonzo. So I'd assume Io would start in front of Lonzo, but Lonzo's still your primary bench guard and still playing mid-20s minutes. So I think that's fine. And then there's just a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we'll have to see where the lineups go and if anybody kind of pops or not here. I don't mind going to Drew Holiday at $4,700 in this matchup against the Lakers, but understanding the hesitation with some of the Celtics plays, given how they've performed, they needed overtime to beat a Clippers bench last night. So we'll see what happens there. Shooting guard. Zach LaVine's 82. Again, if you're looking in at Chicago, it's some guys out. There is obviously Kyrie and Hero. We've kind of talked about them already. Norm's back, after missing last night, 74. Jaylen Brown's under 8K. We highlighted, basically every game this season where he's been under $8,000. He's gone for 40 or more fantasy points. Is there any actual correlation to that? No. But, circumstances are we like to play Jaylen Brown when he's under $8,000, and that's where we see him at here today. And then there's a lot of these mid-tier guys that we touched on at point guard as well. How would you prioritize this position?
Yeah, I think LaVine's very interesting in tournaments. No Kobe White, 29% usage, 2% usage bump, 1.16 fantasy points per minute. Obviously the scoring is where he's going to, make his mark. We've highlighted it enough, but in January, Golden State's a bottom 10 defense in the NBA. It's even worse. Bottom 7, I think, is the official number. But love LaVine in tournaments. I think Jaylen is definitely fine in tournaments. It was interesting. He hurt his ankle last night and then said he's like, yeah, but I'm fine, and then wasn't listed on the injury report. I think that's maybe something to monitor heading into roster lock because it's a 10 p.m. game. Says he's fine, not on the injury report, second leg of a back-to-back. You never know, like that late, actually downgraded to questionable tag. So we'll see how Brown's ankle continues throughout the night. But if he plays, he's definitely fine. Like Norm in tournaments, he has not fallen off at all with Kawhi being back. I like Norm. You could play Jamal Murray here, Monk, all those same things.
How are we handling like Portland in this Orlando spot? I mean, like, is there anybody in Portland that you'd be looking to play against the Magic tonight?
It depends on Simons.
I mean, that's basically that's kind of the key, right? Simons ends up being ruled out. We kind of have a scope on where we might go with their lineup here. Miami plays no Butler. We've talked Rozier, Robinson, Jaquez. We like some of the bigs, obviously, that we'll get to against this matchup against Milwaukee. Would you look to prioritize any of them?
Yeah, looking at, let's see, some of my notes. I don't really have I'm not Terry Rozier. No,
sure
feeling there. I don't care. Duncan obviously has a ceiling. He plays off of Tyler Hero really well. We saw it a couple nights ago in San Antonio. Then obviously he just played really well in general against Portland. That's the Duncan Robinson experience. If he gets hot, I mean, he can stay on the floor. And if he doesn't, he won't stay on the floor because Miami does have just like a plethora of other wings that they're okay. I mean, Alec Burks, right? Like could be dusted off and play 24 minutes if they need floor spacers. So I think Duncan's fine, but in tournaments, I'm actually surprised to see Quentin Grimes' ownership where it is, but I think I'm more than willing to go back to the Quentin Grimes well. I know it's a terrible spot, but we've seen a couple times this year, Quentin Grimes is someone that they extend in blowouts, is obviously extended, started yesterday, played 36 minutes in a competitive game. So you kind of have like both sides of that coin where Quentin Grimes has played most of the blowouts. Also, starting and playing 36 minutes because they ruled everybody out. It's going to happen again. And he isn't terrible when you look at some of like the peripheral stats. Like the fantasy points per minute could be better with all these guys out, 0.75. But 22% usage rate, sub 5K at 36 minutes is pretty good for a guy that's been just simply much better than how he played last night. So I'm okay with going back to Quentin Grimes here. And I'm surprised just based on how recency bias works that the field is going back to the well as well. Like the field's going right back to Dallas,
the highest roster player is Prosper. And again, none of the value worked for us against them against Minnesota. Now they have the Thunder. Like, are we expecting better performances against another tough opponent tonight? I mean,
that was the floor for
right.
both.
That just surprised. Usually when you have poor performances like this, the field isn't going right back to the well,
right?
Like they are. Anything else for you at shooting guard?
Obviously TBD on Golden State, but I think all that stuff could look really good. Buddy Hield actually started last night and he played really well. If he starts again, which seems likely, this is a really good spot for Buddy Hield. So $4,500 if he's in the starting lineup again, take a look there. Cason Wallace played boatloads of minutes yesterday. Didn't even start, but 36 minutes, obviously low floor, but I think the minutes, no Isaiah Joe. Like we've talked about this a lot. They went a lot of small ball lineup and they played a lot of Cason Wallace. And that's just what OKC does when their bigs are out. They go small and they play a lot of wings. So I like Cason Wallace. I like Buddy Hield. Lou Dort, obviously, you could play. Christian Brown has been really, really good for Denver lately. 4 straight games of double figure scoring. 3 of the 4, he's been over 20 actual or better. Denver has the highest implied total on the board, 125 points. Almost 126 if you want to round up. Christian Brown at 4,300 in a competitive game, mid-30s minutes probably on the way. So especially if he continues to score the way he has. Moses Moody popped a little bit. It's a probable tag, but we've kind of talked about this. He has just simply entered their rotation lately. I do wonder what the Pajemski stuff does to Moses Moody with Pajemski back. And then I had noted Agbaji out. He's actually questionable. I would play Bruce Brown if Agbaji gets ruled out. I would probably not play Bruce Brown if Agbaji plays, because I'd be a little bit worried about him getting his minutes cut into. Also, there was a comment that he is on a restriction, and I probably should have realized that. But it's good to see the restriction on the way up. 25 minutes was obviously a season high. I think we need the Agbaji news for Bruce Brown to feel like really comfortable. A lot of the field getting to Grady Dick here, I find that interesting, because I think when you look at the way the Raptors are constructed, I mean, dude, just with how everyone's come back, Grady Dick has just been kind of what is the
we talked about this, right? He's
Dick?
Now sort of stuck in the corner a little bit. There's not going to be 20 shot attempts for him with Barrett and with Barnes on the floor. So there's just not that opportunity for him to take over when he was just him, right? When all those guys were out, it was the Grady Dick show. We did just get the Franz Wagner news. 24 minutes is his limit tonight. He is in the starting lineup. They just released that as well. Anthony Black starting at point guard tonight. So we have that. Jordan asking, what's the deal? Any news? A lot of news. A lot of news, Jordan.
So much news
that came out here today. So, interesting. Power saying Joker is going to be low owned. I mean, ownership isn't saying that, but we'll see. We'll see if it ends up folding that way.
The note there is that Anthony Black is starting. Cole Anthony did not go to shoot around yet. Shoot around this morning. So they're obviously just basically giving us the peek behind the curtain that
Casey, everybody's back for the Clippers tonight, so I'm not really in on Kevin Porter here. Dunn's the only one out, but Harden, Powell, Kawhi, Zubac, they're all playing. So less inclined with Porter with some of the other value that's there. Anything else?
Would you play Anthony Black starting?
I don't know. Maybe it's good to spot against Portland. It gives the defensive stats. Wagner being only limited to 24 minutes as a high side of things is certainly.
Paolo probably 33. Yeah. And Paolo played 31 and a half, 33, 34.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I'd be okay. It's not terrible spot for him because of that matchup. So you can go there. Pace up spot, obviously, for Orlando in that one. Anybody else here? Shooting guard, you ready to go small forward?
Anyone else at shooting guard? My obligatory Julian Strawther.
Strawther call? Yeah.
My Strawther call, but I think that's it.
Okay. Small forward. Tatum's $9,800 here. Small forward, power forward is the eligibility for him. We always talk about Tatum in LA and the whole Kobe Bryant motivation LA thing. $9,800. You can always, again, get to an under 10K Tatum if you want. This is not a slate where people are going to the Boston side of this matchup. Barnes, 87. You have Levine, Brown. I'd play RJ again at $7,700 here against Atlanta, trusting that he has a bounce back game. What are your thoughts, top half of small forward?
Yeah, definitely good with Tatum in tournaments. Jordan, definitely Anthony Black. Never Terry Rozier. The Toronto guys, I think, are really appealing. They're just that's just where things funnel through. Without Emmanuel Quickley this year, Scotty Barnes, 27% usage rate, 1.29 fantasy points per minute. That actually goes up to 1.4 if Agbaji sits. And then RJ, 30% usage rate just with Quickley out, 1.28 fantasy points per minute. I'd go right back to the well. I think they're two of the better small forward plays of the day.
You're getting a 4% RJ Barrett here. Yeah,
it's good.
I'd be willing to run right back into that and see if he takes more than 9 shots. I couldn't believe he just wasn't getting any shots up, but you love the rebounds. I think we'll see some more production out of him here against Atlanta this time.
For what it's worth, he will be the Dyson. He will be defended by Dyson.
Sure.
And then Jalen on Scotty. But So it just depends on what your thought. I mean,
tougher
everyone knows
matchup, but as you mentioned, like the offense has to kind of go through them there. Banchero will play 30 to 32 minutes per coach.
Yeah, he played, which is what he got last game, 32. So it's not like it's like a bad thing because he got the 32 last game.
Agreed. I mentioned obviously DeRozan. DeRozan had that huge second half there, but he's just been good, really. The minutes overall have been there. Anthony Simons will play tonight. DeAndre Ayton out.
Oh, brutal.
Does that give us a Rob Will? Is he?
Yeah, but they started. He's active, but they started Rob Will.
Rob Will will start.
They started him the other day and played him 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Franz is back, Mama. Yes, 24 minutes max for Franz.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it they started Rob Will against Şengün and Houston. And I had him at really low ownership on that slate, and he played 20 minutes. And maybe he would have come back. They took out the starters with like 2 minutes to go. But we talked about this. He didn't close the first half in that game. But he obviously is a super good fantasy point per minute player. Yeah. But you do have to worry about the minutes for Rob Will, because the minutes are going to be on the lighter side for sure. But if you're asking me Rob Will versus Omax Prosper, I'll tell you what, I'll definitely play Rob Will all day long.
The block center spot here. Yeah. Is Rob Will, is he power forward center, or is that a FanDuel thing?
He has the goated. He is so easy. Yeah, he's so easy to get to. Easy to get to.
You get there. So we guys, again, we do appreciate a lot of you guys that are tuning in. You want to hit that like, that share button for us here, Free Wit of Sport. Shy is awful. MD, you say this every game. So
he's trolling. Yeah, he's just
got to be trolling us there after 85.
He's smiling. He's smiling while drinking this.
Last night was not an outlier. He said last night's an outlier.
He was drinking this large 79-cent soda. Let me just type this.
Yeah, for those of you new, Franz is active tonight, starting 24-minute max. This is true, though, Power. Yeah, he is 20% roster tonight. Still among the highest rostered centers, but he's not like a 40% play on this slate, so you are getting some leverage, of course, when you're going there. What's the picks for tonight? Got over on Kick. Got a Kick watcher. Picks for tonight. I mean, we're kind of going through the slate right now.
You can watch.
Talked a lot of value. Obviously, getting Franz Wagner back. We like this. We like Josh Giddey and some of these Chicago plays against Golden State with the Golden State value here. So, kind of working our way through the small forward position right now. Does that change anything for you at Denny? No, Ayton now. I mean, he's already given you a bunch of rebounds.
I like Denny independent of. I would say that would be the one Portland guy independent of all the news that I would find myself getting to. Because
same day parlay in here popping up some picks for everybody in chat. The Denny 8+ rebounds looking pretty good, for sure. Michael over on FanDuel, Kaysen Wallers or Christian Brown.
Christian Brown for me.
Christian Brown, yeah, for sure. And those prices are definitely getting up there on FanDuel.
Yeah, no Ayton, no Klingon, because both guys are out.
Yeah, Will's only limited to 20 minutes, and you have a smaller Jabari Walker playing the 5. Denny could certainly be a rebound monster tonight.
Yeah, they did. They played Jabari over Duop Reith, and Jabari Walker got 3 first quarter fouls, so they had to play some Duop Reith in that game too, because they just refused to extend Rob Will.
Yeah.
Because why would you? You're going to get him hurt and not.
You're trying to trade him. Yeah, you're trying to trade Rob Will. So.
Yeah, so I do think that there's a world where Rob Will gets 22, 23 minutes tonight. If that game was competitive, he probably closes or plays a couple more minutes. But Denny this year with just those two, we don't have the Toumani Camara news yet. That's still hanging in the balance. He's sick. That didn't come. That was not attached to the others. But just no Ayton, no Klingon. Denny Avdia, 21.5% usage, 1.1 fantasy points per minute. And we talked about it earlier. Orlando's been a bottom 4 defense over this last few game stretch without Goga Batadze starting Wendell Carter. So, yeah, I think Denny, independent of Simons, just with 8 and out, is a really solid.
Yeah, the only downside, I guess, to the Portland side is they're going up against Orlando, who's just getting healthier, and they just don't give up points, and they play the slowest pace in the league. So those are sort of the downsides there.
Well, they have been giving up points.
Lately they have, but they're getting better, right? Now that they're getting their team back, I would imagine their defense. Missing Suggs is huge for them, obviously, but if you start Black, you get Wagner back, you're getting Banchero. We'll see if those points continue to be given up or not. Over at FanDuel, Anthony, yeah, I mean, you can play LeBron at small forward. That's fine. You can get there if you want.
I would, for the record, do what you just suggested. I would probably go down to DeRozan.
Yeah, I would go down to DeRozan. Good price tag on him there. Anybody else in this mid-range? Again, we hit the value. We've talked some of these mid guys already. Was Wiggins left untouched of those injury updates?
Yes, Wiggins was not on the injury report. And you were spot on. He's been popular all day. He had a really big game again. Any competitive game they've been in, he's just playing monster minutes right now too. So, yeah, I mean, there's possibly no Curry, no Draymond already, possibly no Trace Jackson Davis. I mean, they are going to potentially be really shorthanded, and it's going to be the Andrew Wiggins show. So, it's a great spot.
Yeah. All right. $6,100. We know what his usage, especially if Curry's not there. We kind of know what his usage is. We're assuming Jaquez starts for Butler. It's kind of been the trend for him.
Yep.
Anything? Where does he kind of rank for you on this slate among, I guess, value plays at the small forward position?
He is in play. I would say that he is. I'm under the field at 17%. Jaime Jaquez. I think they have a lot of. We talk about it all the time. Miami just has too many guys and too many ride the hot hand type scenarios where if Bam Adebayo is not safe, nobody's safe.
Sure. To your point on the Orlando stuff, they're kind of in the mid pack, but 114 points per game the last 3. Overall, they're along the second fewest points per game. But again, that was with Suggs at point guard, and they were a healthier team earlier this year. But lately, to your point there, they've been giving up a decent amount of overall points there. Anybody else at small forward as we hit our value range?
Orlando does. I don't know if that's supposed to say doesn't, but they have. So
yeah. That's what I just said. Yeah, over the last 3 games, 114 points per game overall this season. Second fewest points per game, 104.4. So we'll see what happens as they get healthier. We'll see if that defense can return.
Yeah, I'm a Magic truther, but no Goga, no Suggs has been terrible.
And we talked about that too, right? Getting Cole Anthony as your point guard, as small as he is, allows for a lot of points to be scored. So,
Jalen Johnson is listed probable. Mamba, he's listed on the injury report as probable. Him and Trae Young both expected to play. Other small forward value, mostly what we talked about at shooting guard. I don't have the Prosper
that kind of pops out.
It's Omax Prosper. I didn't obviously 11 fantasy points sucks. Terrible, not fun. The minutes were fine. The shot volume for a min salary player was fine. Right? And if it's a blowout, he's obviously playing. He's obviously they're gonna play him. So there is, I understand why people are going to back to Prosper. It's
$3,200. He's with 35% roster tonight. It's the highest in the slate, something like that.
Yeah, 35% highest on the slate right now. I mean, there's obviously reasons why people are going to go to back to the well here.
Yep, and the overall depth at the position as well has a lot to do with that. Mention if more people end up getting ruled out. Now you're expecting Io back, you said, but THT got the minutes the other day. Things could change there if people end up being ruled out.
Yep.
Power forward, getting Giannis 11-7, LeBron James at 10-2, Tatum at Jalen Johnson are here, Banchero at $8,400, and J-Dub, Jalen Williams at 81. Where does Giannis rank for you as your overall spend ups today?
I mean, we talk about this all the time. I like Joker under 13K is just silly, and that game is silly with the total and the spread and stuff. Like at 240 implied points, like I'm just gonna pick Joker, but it's very enticing to get a 10% Giannis Antetokounmpo into your lineups. Like that is because he's been really dominant in like every game but Orlando, and that was just a blowout. So, we've gotten multiple 70 fantasy point games out of Giannis. The minutes are something that he hasn't played in like recent years. He has a career high in points. He leads the league in scoring. I think still over SGA. No, SGA took the lead probably with 50 bomb last night.
Last night. Yeah.
By 0.5. So yeah, it's very enticing. I would say he ranks right up there with Shea and with Jokic.
I mean, we talked about it last night, right? If that Denver game blows out again and you get 30 minutes out of Joker, maybe you don't get the 85 that allows Giannis at 10%, 50% the ownership tonight to match or do better there. So I'm certainly in play. You have LeBron again going up against the Celtics coming off of his triple-double. He's been hunting those this year. If you feel like playing late game LeBron or AD against the Celtics, you can. The way the Celtics, again, Boston, man, they're just not really playing that well overall. And then I really like Banchero. I understand he's limited to 32 minutes. Good spot against Portland here. They're not going to have like any sort of rim protection out there either. Like he could get to the free throw line a ton. Hopefully he can hit some free throws tonight, but I'm definitely in on this spot.
Yeah, I mean, like they will with Rob Will, but if he's like Rob Will's not playing a lot, so there's probably not going to be a ton of overlap between Paolo and Rob Will.
Yeah, they'll start, but if Rob Will's playing 20 minutes and Banchero's playing 32, there's 12 minutes where they're
and potentially more, just depending on how their shifts are going. So yeah, I have no problem getting to Paolo at 32, especially if he's going to continue to take 20 shots a game.
Agreed. Rest of this range for you?
I mean, hey man, PJ was great last night. Big time usage rate with all the guys that are out. What do my notes have him at? Usage rate with Luka, Najee, Lively, Clay, Hardy out. 8% bump, 27% usage, well over a fantasy point per minute for PJ Washington. Again, just all about your feel for both these teams on back-to-backs and how competitive this game can be. Can Kyrie go nuclear again? Can PJ go nuclear again to keep it competitive? That remains to be seen, but I think PJ is definitely solid in tournaments. Kuzma in tournaments, but it's a terrible spot. Sar in tournaments, it's a terrible spot. I think Nikola Jovic is someone that you and I highlight a lot, and I think it's a warranted shout. There's clearly plans for Nikola Jovic to be back in our lives, and we saw it sans Jimmy, and that's why I'm kind of hesitant with the whole Jaime Jaquez stuff, because I don't know what Miami plans to do with their lineups now that Khalil Ware, we haven't had this problem. Either Jimmy's been out, Hero's been out when Khalil Ware's been extended, or Bam's been out. But now Khalil Ware is messing up the whole flow. So the Jaquez stuff kind of worries me. I'm pretty sure they're just basically all right, dude, you are our second best ball handler after Tyler Hero. You are going to run the second unit. And that's what he's done. And he's been great. So I sent the screenshot to you. He had 17 potential assists in Portland. 17.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I've said it repeatedly. He isn't a great passer. He's just a great playmaker in general. So in large field stuff only, I just watched in real time Rob Williams become the highest owned player of the slate. So
I mean, we knew that. As soon as it said he was starting, we knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
He's $3,200, right? That was just
power forward center. You don't have to do the now I can't play Jokic or AD thing.
Yeah, Jokic even gets a little bit more of a bump there now too because of it. He's up to over 20%. So
Yeah, but Jovic is definitely a really solid tournament play for sure.
And Jovic, is someone that nobody's playing tonight either. We talk a lot that Milwaukee goes double big with Giannis and Lopez and that Portis lineup here. Khalil Ware is where people are looking to go. We had the comment obviously about fading him. We'll talk about Ware when we get to center. Where else are we kind of watching ourselves at the power forward position? Any of these value plays stand out to you at all?
I don't think so. I think if you don't want to talk Rob Will here, then we could just save him for center.
We had the guy Santos comments. Do you play him at 3,500 tonight?
G Santos is fine. I think that he's gonna play because there's no Kyle Anderson and potentially no Trace, and they could maybe they just go small when there's no when it's like the Jalen Smith center. I mean, he'll play. I don't know how much, but he'll be in the mix for like 20 plus minutes.
Yeah, I agree. He'll be off the bench and he's been certain games he's been pretty good when extended. So $3,500, there's a lot of guys. We had the comment on Hauser. Hauser got 25 minutes. He started. Obviously, everybody's back, so he's not going to start. I don't think it's worth the risk there, though, tonight, going back to that spot when you have some of these other value plays that are in there. You've talked up John Isaac. Obviously, he got sick. Would you play him as a backup center tonight?
I mean, it profiles pretty well for him as like a small ball center because Portland is doing that too with Jabari Walker, and Rob Will is limited. So like, depending on how long they want to extend Wendell Carter, but coming off an illness, Jonathan Isaac already limited as.
MD, we were okay with pods. We were unsure sort of how that rotation would work, but if he starts at 4K on FanDuel, there's certainly some appeal. He was playing pretty good minutes before everything that was going down there. So
yeah, but I'm not. I disagree with John. We'll split the difference here. I think there's a massive limit here.
Okay. You think a limit, right? That's what you're saying, right? You think it'll be limited?
Yeah, I almost have no interest. It was an abdomen, so how much is he was speaking to the media a few weeks ago, just got back to running. I don't know.
And then Mo Bamba Jordan, Zubac is back tonight, so Bamba's not going to get any minutes there.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to center where we can talk a lot. Obviously, Nikola Jokic is here. He's up to 20% now with the Rob Williams news. Rob Williams obviously starting as just another value potential play. But we talk about it. 30 minutes in a blowout against Philly. He gave you 72 fantasy points at 12K. That's 6x his price. He's up to 12-2. If this game stays competitive, again, he hasn't played more than 30 minutes in 4 games. When he is in competitive games, we've gotten these runs of 80 plus 90. So do you think this game is high scoring and close? You can almost bet on the Joker having a pretty big part of it. And you're getting him at 20%, which to Power's point, you get a guy going for 90 at 20%, 80 at 20%. That's a pretty good leg up on the rest of the field.
13K.
You're always playing him, so I know where you stand. So.
$13,000. That's the price that I need to consider not playing Nikola Jokic.
Sure. So we know where you stand, obviously. If you wanted to spend down, you could. Obviously, you have Davis, you have Sabonis. Those guys are capable of putting up big numbers themselves. Zubac is kind of the guy I wanted to go to here. Elite overall numbers this year, and then Washington is one of the worst teams against centers in the NBA. If not the worst now, they're one of the worst teams in the NBA. You even pointed out that with everybody on the floor, Zubac is still killing it, even with a healthy team.
Yeah, I messaged you earlier today. I said, John, do you want to guess what Ivica Zubac's fantasy points per minute is with Kawhi Leonard?
1.4, and you said higher.
I said go higher, please. With Kawhi Leonard on the floor in a 95-minute sample for Ivica Zubac, 1.6 fantasy points per minute. And there's 20 rebound upside against Alexander Sarr and Jonas Valanciunas. So he's one of my favorite tournament plays of the day. And I think this is what makes Rob Williams so appealing to me, that I can just play him at forward and I can still play Zubats and Joker and not have to worry about it. So yes, I love Zubats today. Off the, he is unowned. I think literally unowned.
Yeah.
He is 2%, and I think it's probably me and you currently rostering him. So
big fan of Ivica Zubac in this matchup here tonight. So we also liked Porzingis, 6,900 off the injury report. Should play plenty of minutes in a competitive game tonight, assuming it is competitive. Yeah.
Tournaments for sure. Tournaments.
Anybody else here in this mid range?
I mean, Daniel Gafford, come on down. Do it again? Question mark?
Matchup against the Thunder?
Obviously, there's like I remember talking about this against OKC when we were breaking down when Shea was available, and then Shea didn't play in that game. But with how often Shea gets to the free throw line and Jalen, and how often they attack, I mean, there's obvious foul risk. There's also when someone attacks the rim and someone has a lot of block upside, there's also that. So Daniel Gafford's really popular. He's playing monster minutes, and anytime he's played monster minutes, he has gone off every single time. He has not had a bad game when he's been extended. So just depends on your opinion on Daniel Gafford staying out of foul trouble. Jakob Poeltl at 6,200 has really, really good numbers without Emmanuel Quickly this year. 1.16 fantasy points per minute. If Agbaji gets ruled out, his usage gets a significant bump, 1.2 fantasy points per minute. So I think Jakob Poeltl, just got in massive foul trouble in that game, and watch Kelly O dominate. I would go right back to the well. Wendell Carter has been a guy that's been at a fantasy point per minute this year without Mo Wagner, without Cole Anthony, and without Goga Batadze and Jalen Suggs, obviously. So, 3 double-doubles in his last 4. I think Wendell Carter is fine because he's been really popular, and all the steam off Wendell Carter has kind of dropped off. And now
Wagner coming back probably has a little bit to do with that.
Yeah, he's still a fantasy point per minute though with Franz on the floor this year. So Wendell Carter I think is fine, and then everyone's going to play. Everyone's still playing Kelly Ware.
Anthony's saying to fade Kelly Ware. He's around 18% roster tonight. We have a pivot just below him if we wanted to go there with Oni. But $5,700 Kelly Ware price is rapidly rising on him. Does it against San Antonio, does it against Portland. Now he's got Milwaukee where they play a double big lineup. Are you buying the hype?
He is actually a pivot off of Okongwu for what that's worth. Okongwu now getting a lot of the ownership at center. Not that Ware isn't. I don't think anyone knows what to do at center today because there's it's a really good position.
Tony right here, we're just below him. Like you mentioned getting 28, was it 28%?
Yeah, 24, but that's after the Rob Will.
Sure.
Since the Rob Will news, I would say I prefer Okongwu, especially with no Capella. I mean, there's
Capella already out.
There's no competition. Dominic Barlow was
we might get 35 minutes out of Okongwu here.
Yeah, I think the minutes. This is going to be the most minutes that we see it, and thanks. Cole Anthony officially out. I kind of figured that was going to be the case when they started Anthony Black because Cole Anthony had been the starter and Cole Anthony didn't go through shoot around. But I do think Khalil Ware's because my assumption is they're going to start Bam. I mean, you cannot put Khalil Ware on Giannis. That is like throw Eric Spoelstra in jail if you do that. If you start the game with Ware on Giannis, that's just very unfair. So I would probably still lean Okongwu, but I do think, Khalil Ware is in play. I'm not like team fade him.
Yeah.
But do think I agree with the field. I think Kong was the better play.
Yep. Jason, we touched on Bruce Brown a little bit here. I think we want Agbaji out for the Bruce Brown run there, but his minutes are certainly on the rise, so a bit risky there. And then commenting on the Gafford, really playing well. Obviously, no Lively, like he should be locked into 30-plus minutes moving forward as their starting center. It's just whether or not you like that matchup against OKC or not. So it's all on that one. With you on the Zubac Joker, Oni over where for us? I think that's where we're looking to go. David's asking, are we loading up an Anthony Black for DK GPPs tonight? Define loading up. I think he's in your player pool.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this exact scenario in the pre-show. Like, Franz was likely to come back. I don't think that there's 17 shots, but the two guys that lead their team in usage and shot attempts and ball, everything to do with ball dominant guys are both on somewhat of limits. So, it helps that there's no Cole Anthony and there's no Jalen Suggs, and he's going to play all the minutes he can possibly handle. But I don't think
I'm going 80, 90% Anthony Black.
The price, the matchup is good. This is not like a price that he's been, and that you should necessarily just assume he's going to
$1,000 price bump. I mean, and again, you have to figure in just Wagner being active. Like, he's just going to take more shots, be more involved overall. Again, in my player pool, I don't think he's 80 to 100% my player pool, though.
Couldn't agree more.
Feels maybe 20, 25% if you want to go there. And what's the field even getting to Black tonight? What's
less than 1%?
So you want 80% of a guy that the field is playing 1% of. So
which honestly could change. That is obviously something that could change, because now we have the official Cole Anthony is out news.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd assume it's going to change from 1%, but yeah, he's solid. But I'm not sitting here saying I'd play 100% of them.
Yeah, I agree. Anybody else at center for you? I mean, obviously we didn't dive into Robert Williams. $3,200.
He's very good per minute. Yeah, he's very good per minute.
Where are you? Is he a guy you're looking to play today?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Comments, concerns, questions? Lineup time?
Lineup time.
Lineup time. Where do you want to start?
Where do you want to start?
I'm the one running the show. I asked you. Where do you want to start? Start Joker?
Joker.
Okay.
Rob Will, power forward.
Rob Will, power forward. Okay. Apparently Joker is not going to pull up for me. There we go. Joker, Williams. Point guard position here. We liked the Sacramento, but you liked Murray a bit more, you said, than Westbrook. Is that?
I did.
Okay. Murray at 72. Do we just triple up? We go like Christian Braun here, 43.
Christian Braun. Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't know if it's 242 implied points. I don't know.
You gotta get your exposure.
Yeah.
I
don't know if I'd play 3 Denver, but Brown's really cheap. So.
All right. Would you rather get off Murray or Brown?
Murray.
Okay. Play Giddey then, because we're in on Giddey. 6K play. Small forward guard utility.
Could
plug Denny in. Kind of like that spot for him there.
Yeah.
Let's see. 55 for a guard and a util. Let's see. Was there another value that we wanted to play here this evening? I mean, obviously it was the Golden State stuff. We just don't know what to do with that, right?
Yeah, and I'm not even. Yeah, I don't even know. It's hard to project Golden State because we just don't know we don't know what the pod limit's going to be. We don't know if Steph is officially out. Gary Payton's is playing today, so it's just
okay. Let's see then. We got a util then. Let's see any value that we wanted.
I mean, you could play like Grimes there. You could play a Prosper if you really wanted to.
Do you eat the Prosper chalk again and see if he comes back through? Is he a 78?
It's so cheap.
And then that gives you a Norm, gives you Jaylen Brown, gives you back to Jamal Murray, Malik Monk on the other side of that game.
Yeah, I'm good. That's a fine tier. Like if we end up with 3,
we'll get someone to come back in that one. We can go Monk. So that would give us $800 left over. Obviously, would be quite a few dollars. There wasn't much there unless we got this. Like we could play Moody if we knew the news, right? Like we'd go
or Bruce Brown
if we knew the news there. So we had a comment on Banton earlier, but obviously Simons is in.
We don't know Tumani Kamara yet.
Yeah, we don't know the Kamara news yet. There's Santos here, so go back to Prosper. Let's see. Is there anybody you would move off of? We have $800 left over.
$800. I mean, $800. I'd possibly
we like
Jovic to Wiggins. Wiggins.
Play Wiggins.
Yeah.
Okay. Wiggins is 61. There we go. Giddey, Brown, Avdia, Williams, Jokic, Monk, Wiggins, Prosper. Example lineup for everybody. Hopefully news comes through and we can get a little better clarity on things. 7 o'clock roster lock, so we'll have that soon. Casey saying Strother. James, what do you think of Julian Strother?
Hate him. Terrible player.
Worst player in the league. Yeah, obviously in rotation here.
Yeah,
gets his minutes. Better if there's a blowout. So where you're going. Porzingis and Rob Williams tonight. I like Porzingis. Yep, he's in the player pool. The roster ship's going to Rob Williams. Again, we are playing Joker. We do this every night. We play him because he's cheap, and if no one's going to play him tonight, you're gonna want to get some exposure there. I do like Ivica Zubac though. That's kind of my pivot there, and we like a Kongu as well. So again, Giddey, Brown, Avdia, Williams, Jokic, Monk, Wiggins, Prosper example lineup. We'll be back for Friday. Get on that Discord. 7-day free trial still going on. FantasyAlarm.com/win. We'll catch you later.